got love for you, man. Okay.
What are we talking about? You know, I'm not here to start any trouble.
I'm only going to say nice things about you from now on. I think you're handsome, and I think you're a wonderful host.
I'm fat and I'm overweight. Just don't say anything silly.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny? I take it serious.
You know, I don't want y'all to take anything out of context that I'm saying.
He's very funny. He likes to joke around a lot.
As a personality and as an entertainer, yes.
This is going to be really quick. I'm not taking any questions.
Go ahead and get comfortable. I'm going to talk for a little bit.
You're listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, you could be anywhere in the world, which you probably are. And as Jay-Z once said, thank you for spending it with me. Something to that effect. I never quote Jay-Z correctly. I'm one of those guys that, I think it was either Eddie Murphy or Chris Rock, said, like in one of their comedy specials, that they always mess up the jokes. Yeah, I think it was Eddie Murphy who did it famously in Delirious. And then he said, Goonie Goo Goo. Like, I'm the guy the next day just butchering the jokes. Like, I went to see Louis C.K. A month or two ago when he was here in Toronto, and he has this killer joke about, this is really, really bad. This is a horrible, horrible thing. But maybe, and that's his bit. Great bit. It's a monster, and I usually mess it up. I'm your host, Cabbie Richards. Follow me on Twitter at TheRealCabbie or on Instagram at TheRealCabbie. To my subscribers on iTunes, what up, people? And to the ones that found this on the Book of Faces, on the TSN page or my page, thank you for the click. If you're new to the podcast, we've got hours and hours of great stories with a bunch of different athletes. So check those out at Cabbie Presents on iTunes. And now I present to you a face you've seen for years. He's been beaming into your homes for decades, reporting on sports, entertainment, music, fashion, films, everything and anything Hollywood, and joins me on the phone right now.
If it's going to be an interview, I'm going to conduct it. So I'll answer my own questions, ask myself the questions, then give y'all the answers.
One of the first men to make the jump from sports to entertainment on television, paving the way for idiots like me, a staple at the Staples Center checking out his Lakers, formerly of ESPN, and for the better part of a decade, one of the faces on Entertainment Tonight. And for diehard sports fans, was also the host of the T.O.Cho show. Kevin Frazier joins me from Los Angeles. How are you, sir?
Why would you have to drop the T.O.?
Well, no, but
T.O.Cho show, Cabbie. You know I love you, but you had to go back.
No, but listen, but that was like that show was unprecedented because you had two guys who were active players having their own weekly show. Like it was pretty crazy. I enjoyed it because I like their personalities. I don't know if a lot of people did, but I enjoyed it.
I wish that someone would take all the outtakes and all the stuff they really said.
Oh, that would be amazing.
And run it back. It is bananas, the stuff they were saying.
See, that's what YouTube's for.
I can't even tell you the craziness they were saying.
That's what, like, you know what? That stuff will probably show up in like 8 to 10 years on YouTube because it always seems that like things like that, like you'll see. I saw a Diane Sawyer clip recently, and there's like a Chris Berman one from like 2000 where he gets upset with somebody on the crew. But those come out like so many years later, so I'm sure the footage that you're talking about will see the light of day.
I mean, here's the thing: I'm good, but for their sake, I hope not.
So Kev, how many projects are you currently working on? Because the last one I heard about was, aren't you doing something for Time Warner Sports Channel?
Yeah, I'm doing a couple of shows for Time Warner Sports Channel. One that's called All Access, where I sit down with one of their players for a half hour, and so I either talk to a member of the Lakers or a member of the Galaxy. So far I've done Steve Nash and Landon Donovan, and those two were great and they were fun. And I'm also doing a show called Floor Seats about the people who sit around the court at Staples Center. And then I got my day job at the Insider, and then I also am doing college football for Fox Sports.
Oh my gosh! So wait, so you're doing 4 shows? Like, doggy, that's greedy a little bit.
It's a little greedy. I'll be honest with you. It is a little greedy. When I get tired, I realize that greed has got me.
So the show, the college football show on Fox Sports, is that the one that Aaron Andrews does and Eddie George?
No, we're on the net. We're on we do all the Fox Sports cable games. Marcus Allen and I are on the net, and Aaron Andrews is on the network. So,
okay.
We're just the little dogs, but we're still there.
Yeah, but you can't get stretched any further, dude. You can't get stretched thin any further. That's like four shows, and that the one about the fans that sit courtside, that one's really interesting because
you know so much about those people because you've been there and actually soaked up the atmosphere, and you know how crazy it is. And I think the kind of interesting thing is that so many people look at the stars, but what they don't realize is the people who make those stars are the people who own the seats. So, you know, you see the rappers, you see Lil Wayne or Jay-Z or Kanye sitting courtside the Lakers seats. They're usually sitting in the 4 seats that Jimmy Iovine has. And then there's there's Ari Emanuel, who runs William Morris Endeavor and is the Ari character on Entourage. He sits right next to the Lakers bench. There's Joel Silver, who produces some of the biggest movies.
He produced the Matrix movies, I think.
Of course. And then from there, tons of other movies. And so it's like those are the people courtside that you need to look at because they're constantly, like they all stand up at halftime and they're talking and they're making deals. Katzenberg, all those guys. All the titans of the industry. So that part I love.
So I remember seeing once, I was at a game and I saw, it was Joel Silver talking to Will Smith. And I was like, oh my, and I recognized Joel Silver. I'm like, oh wow, that's just some power right there. I mean, Will Smith is like the biggest star in the world and Joel Silver is obviously a top tier producer with billions of dollars. His movies have grossed billions in the industry. So that's very, I mean, now is the pressure on you, Kev? Or is the pressure on the producers of the show to get Jack? Because Jack is really he is the person that everybody knows.
The hard part about Jack is that, Jack really, really, really doesn't like to talk. He's past it. He's done it for so many years, and he's just past it. So we're all working overtime to get it done. And you know what? Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. We've chatted about it, and he's 50-50, but we'll see where he lands.
Might you have to include a player to be in the thing? Like imagine
you know what you do? You get like Lou Adler, who sits next to him, and he's famous record producer, probably is best known for producing Tapestry by Carole King.
Okay.
Kids, if you don't know, ask your parents. But and he's the guy, the white-haired guy who sits next to Jack all the time, and they're tight, like they chat. So they're kind of the perfect kind of crew, and that would work.
That would be awesome.
Those two together would work.
I've seen Donald Sutherland sit next to Jack a few times also. If that is Donald, it looks like Donald.
No, that's Lou Adler.
Oh, that is? Oh my gosh.
That's Adler.
Oh, he looks like Donald Sutherland to me. I always thought it was, but I'm totally wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, no. That's what he looks like, Donald Sutherland, but that is not. That's Lou Adler.
Okay, so you're an LA dude now. I'm not sure. Did you grow up on the East Coast?
I grew up in Maryland, man. My dad was a basketball coach at a place called Morgan State. And,
Morgan State, yes, I know Morgan State.
They won the Division II national championship with a guy named Marvin Webster, the human eraser, back in 1974. And then he went on to coach for the Knicks for a couple of years. He was an assistant.
Oh, that's awesome.
With the Knicks. So, I grew up around sports and basketball. I was this ball boy. I worked for him for 2 years when I got out of school at Morgan. So it's always it's always been a part of me. And so I always thought that I would coach basketball.
Really?
Yeah, no. I'm really, honestly, I'm trained to coach basketball, not do TV. I mean, TV came along. It was fantastic, and it's been fantastic. But really, it's like basketball. And it's funny because when Phil Jackson came here, as a kid, my dad coached was an assistant with the Knicks when Phil played for the Knicks.
Oh my gosh! Phil, wow, you go back.
Yeah, Phil and that entire staff was, Jim Clemens also played for the Knicks at that time. So it was,
that was
that was how I grew up.
You had wow. So did you get to meet Clyde Frazier, Willis Reed?
Yeah, Clyde was traded the week when my dad was hired and they were getting ready for training camp, and I was actually sitting at Willis's cabin in upstate New York when they were trading Clyde to Cleveland. And then after that, we went out on the lake, and Willis taught me how to fish.
What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
no,
and how old were you when
Like,
that
Willis,
happened?
you know, to me, some of these people, it's like Willis Reed. I'm like, oh yeah, Willis. Yeah, that's who taught me how to fish. That's how I know him better. That, you know, he taught me how to fish.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 10 or 11. So it was crazy because I would go to the garden and we would sit like third row, and I always take my little Canon camera and I'd take pictures. And I remember one night this lady looks at me and she's like, "It's so nice your mother brought you to the game." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "Wow, that's really cool. Your mom bought you these expensive seats and everything." And I was like, "Actually, no, that's my dad sitting over."
And then you just brushed your shoulders off. So, okay, so now you've been on the West Coast for a while. Now, okay, so with LA sports, you would have a better idea about this than I do. Are LA fans, are they bandwagon jumpers, or is that a loyal fan base?
It is a little bit of a bandwagon town, but the people who love the Lakers love the Lakers. And also it's a show, man. People want to be out there and be seen, and they go to the cool places, the cool clubs and all that stuff. But, I mean, I think that people do love the Lakers. And there are real sports fans in this town. The problem is the stars suck up all, like, the shine.
So, okay, with that said, well then maybe they're part of the problem because, you know, last year the Clippers got Chris Paul, and now then the Clippers were hot. And then, you know, the LA Kings in hockey, they won the Stanley Cup. So they were hot for like a couple of weeks or like a month. And, you know, I remember I saw Will Ferrell at a game, Zac Efron at a game. I saw Vince Vaughn at a game when we were covering the Stanley Cup final. And then this year, the Lakers, they get Steve Nash and then, you know, Dwight Howard, who's arguably the second best player in the NBA. So now they're hot, but like they're not so hot because they haven't been playing up to expectation. So with it, like, have you seen the fan base like move from team to team to team?
You know, I don't think it's that people move from team to team to team as much as that, you know, it's like when the Kings were hot, the hockey fans really got shine and love. But before that, they didn't. You know what I mean? It's like there were a lot of stars that go to the hockey games, but nobody paid attention to it. Then all of a sudden the Kings got hot, and all of a sudden you started seeing the stars because you started seeing the games.
Right.
That's all that was. But I think that for the most part, the basketball people are the basketball people. The hockey people are the hockey people. The soccer people are the soccer people. Because don't forget, the Galaxy are making a heck of a run. I mean, they have a chance to win a back-to-back title.
That's
and
right.
They are actually LA's championship team. So don't sleep on Beckham, the Galaxy, with Donovan and Robbie Keane. Don't sleep on those cats because they're balling right now.
Definitely will not sleep on them. I haven't been able to see a soccer game. I did get to see the Kings win on their home ice, win the Stanley Cup. So that was pretty cool back in June. So the Lakers, they hire Mike D'Antoni over Phil Jackson. And, you know, last game when they played the Sacramento Kings, it was heard in the audience. People were chanting, "We want Phil, we want Phil." Were you a part of the Lake Show fan base that wanted Phil
Yes.
Jackson? You were okay, card-carrying member, the Phil Jackson fan club.
Yes. Because here's the thing. Phil is fantastic at managing the people. And it's part basketball, but it's also managing the people and personalities. And when people think that, like, coaching basketball is about X's and O's, you're sadly mistaken. There have been many great guys who know X's and O's, but don't know how to manage the people. And in L.A., you have to manage huge egos. I mean, remember, this is a town of stars, and the biggest stars are the Lakers.
Right.
Kobe Bryant's the biggest star in this town. And so you have to understand that you have to manage Kobe, Dwight, Ron Artest, Steve Nash somewhat, all these different people. And if you don't know how to do that, then you've got a problem. Mike Brown couldn't manage the personalities. Mike Brown couldn't manage LeBron in Cleveland. So that's where he stumbled as a coach, and that's where I think that Phil is a genius because he knows how to really focus in, and that's why he's the Zen master, to get inside these guys' heads.
Well, once he managed the greatest player of all time, everything else, I wouldn't say is a cakewalk, but once you have Michael Jordan under your belt for was about 10 seasons, I think he came in 88 or 89, Phil Jackson coached the team once, I think when Doug Collins got fired. That's enough of a stamp on your resume. Is I coached the greatest player of all time to 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, and I think 5 MVPs or something like that. So,
well, and you know what? Here's the other thing you forget: you had Michael, but you also had Dennis Rodman.
Of course.
Helped manage Dennis Rodman at the height of his insanity. I mean,
right,
Dennis
right.
during the finals was flying off to Vegas to kick it, and they handled it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying is like you have to look back and see what he's done and who he's done it with. I mean, Kobe and Shaq were a disaster together. They were.
Right.
I mean, it's well documented. So it was not, and part of it was their youth, and it was like 2 big bulls going head up. But at the end of the day, he managed that situation to still win championships. When he got there, there wasn't an expectation that they would win a championship that quickly, and he did. They won 3 in a row. So it's just, keep in mind who Phil is and what he does, and that, in my opinion, the best coaches, the greatest coaches, they manage the people, not as much what goes on the court. I mean, your X's and O's. You know how to move people around. You have other coaches that help you with that. But you also have to be able to stay ahead and manage your players so that they peak at the right time and win championships. That's what it's all about.
I'm on the phone with Kevin Frazier of The Insider, All Access on the Time Warner Sports Channel for the people listening in LA. We get some traction from our American listeners, so that some Americans check this out. So are you concerned that Mike D'Antoni might not be able to manage the Eagles on this team because he couldn't even manage Carmelo Anthony? And
here's what everybody has to remember: what really saved him down the stretch? Really,
who? D'Antoni?
Everybody forget it was Jeremy Lin.
Oh, right, of course.
The Jeremy Lin phenomenon made him hang on for a little while longer in New York. He was done. He was fired. This guy was over. And he throws this kid in the game, and the kid blows up, and the Knicks become the hottest team in the free world. And Jeremy Lin's on the cover of Time magazine, and so he doesn't go anywhere.
And this month's GQ.
Right. And I'm just saying that now you got to look and figure out, can he manage this situation? And also, everybody's like the offense, the defense. They have the players. They'll figure that out. But how many championships has he won? Because so much of championship basketball is managing the personalities. Doc Rivers does a great job in Boston because he somehow manages Rondo and KG.
Right.
Now, if you've ever been around those personalities while they're on the basketball court and off the basketball court, it's very interesting. Kevin Garnett is the most focused person I've ever seen during a sporting event. And then Rondo, he doesn't really get along with the guys, and they have locker room issues. So Doc does a great job of keeping that thing together and maximizing that talent.
So, Kev, what do you like? So, are you cautiously optimistic now that the Mike D'Antoni era will start sometime? What I'm hearing December because he just had surgery on his knee. Are you cautiously optimistic, or are you pessimistic?
I'm interested to see what happens, and I'm gonna hope for the best. And here's the funny part: I'm rooting for Bernie Bickerstaff because when he worked in Washington, when he was assistant coach and then later a head coach, he was my neighbor.
Oh,
Bernie
nice.
and my dad are very close, so
Nice.
I'm like, Bernie, go crazy, do your best. Go on a winning streak.
Those are some old school dudes, right? Those are some OGs right there. Your pops and Bernie Bickerstaff.
Old school.
I just saw the story that Coldplay. So just moving back to the East Coast, Coldplay and Jay-Z are going to be playing New Year's Eve at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Now this is going to be the second time they're going to be performing with each other on New Year's Eve. What are your New Year's Eve thoughts? Do you like that holiday? Again, I don't know if I can call it a holiday, but do you like that night as a night of celebration, or do you just kick it low key?
Low key, 100%. Here's the thing, because too many amateurs hit the road. You know what I mean? And it's also like people feel like I have to have this huge celebration for the end of the year. For a living, I cover concerts and premieres and all that kind of stuff. So for me, a great night out is chilling with my wife. A great night out is hanging with my boys. I'm so happy to be home. I'm just like, I'm going nowhere. People are like, oh, you want to do this? No, on New Year's Eve, if I can have some friends over or I can walk down the street to a friend's house, that's beautiful. But do I want to be in a concert not a shot. And by the way, what's crazy is I'm actually getting on a plane on Wednesday night going to New York to go to the Barclays Center, and I'm doing a story about behind the scenes of the Barclays Center and a promotion for Nokia, and also sitting courtside. So I'm sure I'll see Jay-Z. I might even be next to him. I think I'm getting the owner's seat, so I might be next.
Wow, that's not a bad Wednesday. Not a bad way to spend a random Wednesday night. So when was the last? Have you ever blown it out for New Year's Eve, or you always been sort of a low key dude?
A couple of times I've gone really hard and just been like, oh, I'm going to the craziest, the best party, and you know it's kind of like I've been to this party a lot. I've been to this party many, many times. You know, you're sitting in that party and you're like, I've seen this party before with these people. Now, let me just say this. I do love if you're going to see like great music somewhere, and then my wife loves music, so sometimes she just grabs me and she's like, honey, we're rolling. But for me, like New Year's Eve, just chill with your family, chill with your people, and then, you know, you get to celebrate later.
You would just mention like you've been at a great, what's the best party that you can remember, that you can tell on the air?
Ooh.
It could be for anything. It could be somebody's birthday party. It could just be a random. It could have started at a dinner or a charity event and then just gone and escalated. It could be for Halloween. It could be for Independence Day.
I've been to a few great parties, but a lot of times it's the different locations that make the party cool. Like you look up and you're like, oh, we're having like a party in Rio. When they did the movie Rio, they held a party for all the journalists that came down, and it was like the animated movie Rio in Rio, and you're partying in Rio. Oh, that was pretty cool.
You did that?
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh my gosh, that's very cool.
No, it was. You're just like, yo, what am I doing here? Like, you know, there's one of those nights. I'll tell you what, my favorite Hollywood party was at Serena Williams' house. She had like a carnival party, and it was crazy because, I mean, literally, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in here like doing tequila shots and eating cotton candy, and, you know, here's Serena and Venus, and we're just like, we're having a blast, and they're singing karaoke, and KG is in there, and a bunch of other Hollywood stars, and that's one of those moments where you're like,
Kevin Garnett was there too?
Yeah, and it's one of those moments you're like, yo, what am I doing?
What am I doing here?
Yeah, how did this happen?
What was she wearing? Do you remember? A carnival
this
party.
Is bananas.
Kev.
Huh?
What was she wearing?
Just cute, fun party gear. Like, here's what people don't understand about Serena. She's really tall. People don't realize
I've
that.
seen her in real life.
When she puts on heels, she's 6'1".
Mm-hmm.
So, like, people think that, like, oh, Serena, you know, she on the tennis court, she looks tinier than 6'1". She's 6'1". So it's wild when you're like there standing with her. And also the other thing is like they see this person who is like a Terminator on the court.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the like nicest, kindest people, and she just like we were jousting. She had a jousting pit, and we were jousting.
Amazing.
You know, like Kim Kardashian comes in, and this is back when she was dating Miles Austin, and she rolls through, and you're like, wow.
So wait, stop right there. So now you have two legendary backsides in one place. Two legendary backsides. Were they ever side by side?
Never saw them side by side. I will say this, okay? Kim is tinier. Like, she's not as – pictures distort her size. She's really not that big a girl. Her butt is – interesting.
What does that mean?
But it's
Kev?
not like mammoth.
No, I'm not saying it's huge.
Let me just tell you, I want everybody to go down to their computers and check this out. The most interesting backside I've ever seen is this lady named Chiqui Delgado, who works for Univision, I think. Yeah, and she did stuff for entertainment.
Wait. Was she the reporter that goes to the Super Bowl week? And
no, that's not her.
Oh, that's
not her. I know who you're talking about. Actually, she co-hosted a couple of things with me.
Wow, your life, man.
But I'm telling you, you need to look that one up.
Who? What's the lady's name from Univision? Chi what?
Cheeky.
How do you spell cheeky?
CHIQUI.
Okay. I'm Googling her. Cheeky. And what was the last name again?
Delgado.
Delgado.
I want to see if you get it. Let me make sure.
Oh, she's hot. Wow. Chinquiera.
Yes.
Delgado. Oh, I'm going to click. Wow. There's the first images from For Him magazine. Oh, say word.
No, but what I want to tell you is, in that, I work in a place with all women. I work with all women.
Yes.
And when a woman comes into your office building that it's so fine that the women are like, oh my God, I can't stop staring at her, then you know a woman's fine.
She is like, she's a 13 out of 10. She's a legit 13.
Easy. Her backside's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
So wait, because I've seen Kim Kardashian and Serena Williams in real life.
Neither one of them can touch this one.
Well, Serena's is more than you have to be made of marble to, like, you have to have the confidence of Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and Tiger Woods in his prime just to holler at that. Like, that's a real man. Like, you got to be a man to run with Serena Williams. And then Kim is, as you said, she's smaller than you think, but the backside is still, it's wow. It's still like, I sweat when I think about it. But this,
Kim is, let me just say this. People often ask me, like, who are the most beautiful women in Hollywood? She's one of the most beautiful women in all of Hollywood. Like, when you see her in real life, she's striking. And I hope that she doesn't do too many crazy things like any plastic surgery or anything in the future.
She doesn't need to.
And I actually did her first ever red carpet interview. It was her and at the ESPYs, and Bruce Jenner said, I'm going to bring Kim with me. And so he brought her, and he was like, this is her first time on a carpet. She's having so much fun.
Wow. So was this at the time where she was friends with Paris Hilton, right? Is that how she got onto the scene? She was like one of Paris Hilton's friends?
A little bit of that. And also, Paris Hilton shouldn't get any of the credit. Her mother is a marketing genius.
Yeah, but she had to be like...
Kris Jenner, no, listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. Kris Jenner is a marketing genius.
Okay.
Don't let anybody else. No one else should get credit.
But at the height, like, Paris Hilton was stupid famous. And
I get what you're saying. And Kim went out with her. But her mother is a marketing genius.
Okay. Well, I just don't see the connection between here's Kim Kardashian, who is relatively unknown, and here's her mom, who's a marketing genius. But how is she going to enter into the pop culture conversation if not for being seen with Paris Hilton? That's like having Justin Bieber co-sign you on Twitter.
Is a marketing
okay.
genius and would have figured out a way to get this girl in. And understand, she started hanging with Paris, but it was a calculated move. And and look, they were friends, but I'm saying it was a calculated move. And when Paris faded a little bit, all of a sudden Kim jumped in. Someone had to book all those events. Someone had to get her on all those carpets. I'm just going to repeat again. Her mother is a marketing genius.
Got it. So wait, so let me take me back to the part. So at the party, it says Serena and Venus are hosting this carnival party. Kevin Garnett's there. Kim Kardashian's there.
Tons of Hollywood folks. Brandy. I can't even remember all of it. There was a ton of people there, though.
And this is one of the most memorable parts. I mean, it sounds awesome. And you're doing tequila shots, eating cotton candy. One of the most, I'm sure the music was legit, and it was just a great vibe.
The place was tricked out. The DJ was off the chain. It was like the taco man, the cotton candy people, the ice cream guy. It was like a true carnival. And she had all the fun house, the bouncy house, but for adults. And it was just, it was off the chain. I had so much fun because it was I just was there, had a few cocktails, played in the bouncy house, ate cupcakes, and I just had a blast.
So, Kev, how do you balance reporting on entertainment and reporting on Hollywood and then actually having real friendships with the people you're reporting on? Like how? So like because there's some people are going to get in trouble, and some people are going to get in trouble that and that are friends of yours. So then there becomes a dichotomy of can I do this story? I know it's my job, but then I don't know. Maybe you feel like you have a loyalty to this person where you're like, I don't know if like we should report this. How do you navigate that?
Well, number one is that if something happens, I say, hey, come to me. Let's talk about it. Let's sit down. Let's talk about it, because
like talk about it like on the air, or talk about it over the phone.
If you get in trouble, I'll do the interview. Like say when all the stuff went down back in the day with Isaiah
Thomas.
No, Isaiah from.
Oh,
from
Isaiah
Grey's
from
Anatomy.
Isaiah Washington.
Yeah, from Isaiah Washington. I mean, I knew Isaiah, so I was like, Isaiah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. And so he was like, I'm not talking to anybody. But he was at least able to give me his take and his side of it, even though it wasn't on camera. I could reach him on the phone and say, what was the story? And then you can come back and say, here's what Isaiah is saying today. Here's what's being reported. And you lay out the balance of it. I mean, look, if something happens, we're going to tell the truth. And that's what it's about, telling the truth.
Okay, but then does Isaiah then, if he sees you on television saying, this is what Isaiah is thinking today, with that whole situation with, he called one of his cast members,
right.
Whatever. But so when he sees that, do you then get a text or a call, be like, hey man, I was speaking to you in,
No, I always say that this is going to be on, let's talk about what I can say on TV. Okay. What we can say and what we can talk about. And, you just have to be honest with people. And the other thing is that, let me say this, when I went to Serena's party, things I saw people do, I'm not coming back the next day and reporting it.
Of course, yeah.
I actually shot a story there early on, just a tour of Serena's house, and then the cameras got put away, and I haven't really talked about that party until really now, because it's nobody's business. That was away from my job. That was on off hours. So, you have to walk a fine line, and you have to realize these people are human beings, and when they are away, and they're enjoying themselves, living their life, and you cannot come in that atmosphere and watch. And so even when I was, a sports reporter, and I was places with people where I saw really sketchy, crazy things, it's not my job to go back and report that and say, guess what I saw last night doing what? That's not it. I was there to talk about basketball. And so now if I see things, if that does not matter in the world I'm in, I don't care, and I don't want to talk about it. I want you to do your thing, and I want to do mine.
So when you, like, I get the most, in my experience, and probably yours as well, I mean, my game is more entertainment. I'm not really informing the public of news. I want to entertain the public when I do my interviews. So in my line of work, it's all about trust, and it's building and maintaining a trust between myself and the athlete. And if we become friends, like off camera, then, it's important to never violate that trust. Are you
100%?
So you feel the same way, and you have the
100%.
same. 100%. Okay.
If I'm somewhere and I see something, it's like, okay, I saw something, and you know what? It's not my job to sit down and tell the world about what I saw.
Okay, so I'm on the phone with Kevin Frazier of The Insider, but your show is like, I know you guys do a lot of fashion, you guys do a lot of galas, you guys do obviously entertainment.
We do gossip too.
You do gossip too. So that you've let's
say this. Okay, here's a good one.
Okay.
So we reported something, I can't remember exactly what it was, about Kim Kardashian. And Kris Jenner, her mom, said, Kevin, listen, you don't have to report it. All you have to do is call me, and I'll tell you whether it's true or not. And if it's true, run with it. And that's the whole thing. It's about having credible sources when something breaks. And so when something breaks, go to the person and say, hey, is this true? Isn't this true? What can we say about this? And then they'll tell you, and then you come back and you can report what you want to report. That's when you put your reporter hat on.
That thing, was that ever true? That thing that you're talking about?
No, it was 100% wrong.
Oh, okay.
And that happens all the time. That, with blogs nowadays and people racing to put things out, you constantly have people just throwing stuff out there.
How is speaking of which, how has Twitter changed your business? Because I feel like Twitter has now replaced breaking news, Whereas CNN was always breaking
news.
news.
For celebrities, it's great because
Right.
now they can get their messages out to the masses, and it's not filtered by us. At the same time, you still need us to, pump your projects and stuff like that. But I think Twitter is a good thing. But what I don't like about Twitter is that there are so many Twitter gangsters out there. And that what I talk about is people who now, because they're anonymous, say absolutely idiotic things or say just crazy derogatory things. And so my big thing is like, if you're not going to say it to somebody when you're standing next to them, don't say it at all.
Oh, they would never say it to your face, ever.
Never. And so there have been times where people have written things to me, and just whether it's the language they used or just the way, the tone of the tweet, I've just said to them, I was like, look, we can agree to disagree. We don't have to get along, but here's my thing. Do it in a respectful manner. Don't disrespect people. And that's what I hate about social media is that people will disrespect each other. You can say whatever you want. You don't like something, and say, hey, I really don't like that. Here's why. But you don't have to do it in a disrespectful manner.
I guess it was the night that President Barack Obama was reelected. There was obviously there's gonna be haters, but there was some vitriol on Twitter, and I sent out a tweet early in the day. I'm like, whichever way this goes, there's gonna be a lot of hate on Twitter, and there was. Some of the language you were talking about was pretty harsh, and as you said, that's one of the problems of social media. People are these Twitter gangsters. They're sitting at their computer as tough guys, and they would never even dream of saying the kind of stuff they write to a person's face.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. It's like, come out. Listen, let's meet. You come out and say that. You need a platform. I'll give you a platform that you can say that ridiculousness. But people don't want to do that. They want to hide behind, like I said, they want to hide behind their little Twitter tag. They want to be Twitter gangsters.
Is there ever a time, Kev, when you're reporting on entertainment news, are there ever stories like, guys, this is going a little too far? Like you guys have a meeting and topics come up, and when you're like, this story is silly, or like this story is like it's just too far into the gossipy stuff. Or do you ever have moments like that?
I mean, I think there's times where you have to draw a line. You draw a line and you just say, no, that's ridiculous. That's not the story, and that's not a story, and that's a little too much.
How often does that happen? Because Twitter, or excuse me, celebrities are under like gigantic microscopes, and if it's Taylor Swift was seen eating lunch with someone, then she's dating this guy, or if Justin Bieber does, I don't know, he does something, then it's news, or Tim Tebow was.
Listen, I'll give you a prime example.
Okay.
Every Sunday, my son goes to gymnastics, and at gymnastics, Heidi Klum's
he's gonna have a sick core.
Other kids are in my gymnastics class.
Like the Heidi Klum?
Yeah, and we did a special together in Vegas, and so I've gotten to know Heidi, and so I see her there, and Heidi, walks out, and there's like 10 photographers chasing them to the car, shooting them. And it happens for like 3 weeks in a row. And I come in one Monday, and they're like, oh, we got great pictures of Heidi Klum and the kids. And all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute. I was there, and at that moment it made me feel uncomfortable because I was just like, yo, cut her some slack. She's just watching her kids do gymnastics, and she's just trying to chill. And
I think I remember you tweeting that, actually. I remember that.
I tweeted that.
Yeah.
And so I came in and I said, look, if you want to put in the show, but I'm going to give my opinion about it. And in the show I said, look, I got to be honest, it makes me sick because she was just at gymnastics class trying to chill with her kids, and she's got 10 guys racing around her car and chasing them down. It was ridiculous. And at that point, and that's where I kind of draw the line, and I don't like it.
That's kind of the pop, I don't know if you consider them a necessary part of your business, or a part. I mean, I know they are a part of your business, but that's kind of a fine line, right? Because sometimes you rely on them for candid photos of so-and-so leaves a scene or whatever.
This is what's happening now in the business, that it's gone to this crazy point where people are like all over the place, where it's about the paparazzi video. What we do is we promote people's projects. So we go to movie premieres. Like tonight, my co-host is at the movie premiere for Twilight. She's going to talk to the stars at Twilight. But what's happening is you have shows like TMZ who don't have access they're not going to be on the carpet at twilight. So what they have to do is they have to run up on people somewhere. And I call it like from the door to the car door kind of thing where they chase people down. And that's what that's all about. And so for me, it's kind of hard because you look at it and you say, listen, I'm going to get on the set of Scandal with Kerry Washington. You're going to have to chase Kerry Washington down. And so they're making their money, but it's in a way that is just adverse, in my opinion, to the whole business. For C-list stars, they love TMZ and places like that because they can get, you know.
Then they'll give the paparazzi, you know, their 2 minutes or whatever because they, you know, they like the pub and all that sort of thing.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Your co-host is at the Twilight premiere. When do you get to see movies, Kevin? Because you're working on 4 different shows, so I imagine your time is limited, and you probably can't get to the movie theater that much.
You know, it's funny because we have daytime screenings, so literally, I'll leave work and go right to a screening, or I'll schedule one, you know, at night once a week. I'll sneak in with my wife, and we'll go see a screening. And so, I haven't seen the new Twilight, and I won't be seeing it.
That's the kind of movie that you watch on a plane. You're doing like
No, that's not the kind of movie I watch on a plane. No.
You wouldn't watch that on. I watched the first 1 or 2 on planes.
No, I can tell you now, no.
Wait, but dude, you're basically a prisoner. That you might as well watch it on the plane.
I'll watch the clouds go by.
Did you see Skyfall?
Saw Skyfall.
And your thoughts on?
You know what? People are like, "Oh, it's the greatest Bond ever." I don't think it's the greatest Bond ever. I think it's good, and I think that, you know, they found a great Bond, and that's part of the deal here. That, you know, it was getting a little out of control and too silly. It was going towards silly, and then they reined it back in, and now it's tougher and gritty, and I like that direction. But at the same time, I don't think this is better than Casino Royale. I loved Casino Royale.
I'm totally with you on that, dude. I think the movie was good, but I don't think it was the best of the 3 Bonds. I actually think it was. To me, I think it goes 1, 2, 3. Even though Javier Bardem was amazing, he
was amazing.
But he wasn't that menacing to me. He wasn't like the dude whose eye was bleeding. Like it wasn't. I don't know. He just didn't have. He was scary because he was so tender, but then he was so dangerous. And then when he, you know, he reveals part of his physical makeup, you're just like, whoa. But I'm with you on that. I think Casino Royale was the best of the 3.
I feel like it was just different.
Do you just if you off the top of your head, what are your top 3 trilogies of all time? And don't say The Godfather because you know the third one was a pile of doo-doo.
That's hard because I don't think that you can sustain excellence in over 3 movies.
You can.
I don't.
You can.
I don't think you can, and people try it, and then, you know, you end up with, you know, maybe 1 good movie. If you're really lucky, 2 good movies, but never 3. Never.
I don't know, man. I like
what? Tell me 3. Tell me 1 trilogy that had 3 great movies.
Well, I'm gonna go with Batman right out the gate because the first one was genre changing. The second one was the best one. The third one I thought was gangster. Even though a lot of people didn't like it as much, I still thought it was a great movie. And like you could put that third Batman up against you could put that up against like the first Bourne movie. And I still think it's better, even though the first Bourne movie was dope. And that was. I
thought the Bourne came as close as some like a franchise has come in a long time.
Yeah, well, the Bourne movies were great. My personal favorite, and I know I'll get flack for this, is the Matrix movies. Like that's my personal favorite. I know. Listen,
stumbled. You know they stumbled. You understand.
The third,
right?
The third one I thought was good. I thought it was very, very good. But I know I'll catch flack for that. Other ones that could be on the list is the Lord of the Rings. That trilogy was very, very popular. And maybe the 3 original Star Wars movies.
And by the way, popularity does not mean that you have a great movie.
I agree.
There are bad movies.
Like the Twilight movie that your friend...
I'm just saying there are a lot of popular bad movies.
That your co-host is about to see?
I'm just saying there are a lot of popular bad movies.
Kev, how do you... Okay, so you said that sometimes you get to sneak in, and I'll leave you with this. Sometimes you get to sneak into a movie with your wife every once in a while. Now, I recently had this experience, and I'm sure a lot of dudes find themselves in this spot. I went to see Denzel Washington's movie Flight with my girl, which I thought was great. Solid movie, Denzel on point. But the opening shot, and I'm not going to ruin the movie. This is just the opening shot of the film. There's the clock radio, so you see the time, and then all of a sudden, then a woman's breast just enters the frame, and I know audibly, I was like, oh. I said that out loud next to my girl, and I'm pretty sure she heard me because I don't even remember if there was music being played or whatever. So, like, how careful do you have to be when reacting to when you see,
my wife knows me, and she knows we're going home together, and she knows that she knows that I've been in some crazy situations with some of the most beautiful women in the world, and she knows I'm always coming home. I'm coming home.
I think Chris Rock once said that. I think he said that to Dave Letterman when Dave Letterman had that whole extortion thing going on, and Chris Rock was awesome with Dave. He was the guest, and he just said, Dave, after the show, I just go home. I just go home. There's no temptation at home. You're just at home. And I was dying, but he's totally right.
It's 100%. That is the 100% deal. Just go home. People are like, oh, there's this after party and there's this and that, and you can do this and that. And that. I'm like, no, I'm going home.
Yeah. But, Kev, you're in the very unique position where, like, if you're reacting to, say, and you're just a man, so, you see a beautiful woman on screen, you might react. Like, just say you're watching Anne Hathaway in Love, Sex, and Other Drugs, and she's naked for like 50% of the movie, and you're watching that with your wife. There's a chance that you actually could meet Anne Hathaway, or you already know Anne Hathaway, or you can run into her at a function.
It's the weirdest thing is that you will see something happen, or you'll watch somebody do something on TV, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, I sat with them on a flight. We sat down and talked for 2 hours at a junket. We had dinner together.
Right.
I've covered them 8-10 times. So, no, it's very, very bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. And you know what? I at first your inclination is to say, oh, there's so-and-so. Just last week I was with them. And now I'm like, just shut up and don't say anything. I remember walking through I was walking through the Grove, the little shopping center in L.A., and Alessandra Ambrosio, one of the
Victoria's Secrets models. Oh my goodness! And not one of these. She's one. She's like top 2 or 3 right now. Maybe top 2 right now. She is legit.
And I see Alessandra, and I'm walking my son, and she comes and is like, Kevin, hey, and hugs me. And I stopped for a second, but I had done their show 4 years in a row and done stuff with Alessandra. But it's crazy because you're like, this has got to be crazy. And we were almost directly in front of the Victoria's Secret store.
My gosh.
So I was like, this is crazy that I'm sitting here with her.
I hate you with love.
It's crazy.
Kevin Frazier, you just, man. I aspire to have some semblance of your career in many, many ways, my friends. Many, many ways. I really appreciate you taking some time to tell a few stories. Last one is, by virtue of your profession, who is the most famous person that you've spent time with? The most famous at any point in time, this person was like...
That happens a lot, where you're around the most famous person at a time. You know what I mean? Like, they're the most famous person at the moment, where you're like, this is the big, a lot of times we've had that where you're covering something and you're like, this is the biggest story in the world right now, and I'm sitting in the center of it.
Right.
That part's crazy.
So who? Give me a name.
Well, I mean, there's been, you can go back and you kind of rattle off a list of crazy big stories, and then you're saying, I'm sitting here on the inside of this right now. So it just there's let's think of some of it.
I have a short list I call the Kings of Earth. These dudes are like, not only are they super, super famous, but they're super cool and just have all kinds of cachet. So like on this list are like George Clooney, David Beckham, Tom Brady, Brad Pitt.
Like, I would say
Michael Jordan,
Right. I mean, whether it's, being out, like I was down covering a NASCAR race, and out comes Michael, and he's like, "Yo, Kev, what's up?" And you turn around, and you're like, "Did Michael Jordan?" Like you're stunned for a second.
That's awesome.
And you're just like, "Yo, Mike just shouted me out. God, this is crazy."
That is awesome.
Or walking into a hotel room when I did NBA with Greg Anthony, he's like, "Let's stop by Michael's room because let's go by and holler at him real quick." And you're just like, and you walk in the room and you're like, I'm chilling in a room with Michael Jordan.
Was he playing cards?
This doesn't make sense. Yes, he was playing cards. But you know how you're like, man, how does this happen?
Well, you know what? You've paved a very, very wide road for guys like myself that want to blend sports and pop culture and entertainment. So I thank you for leading the pack. I know that Matt Babel is you've taken him under your wing in Los Angeles, and I know you and when he's told me about that, he gives you eternal props. So thank you for opening many doors, Kevin Frazier, and I appreciate you telling some stories. Okay, so you can be seen on Twitter. It's at Kevin Frazier, correct?
It's at Kevin Frazier. And you know what? Before we go, I got to say one thing. I am still chasing one of the greatest stories you ever did. And I will tell folks this. The first time I met you, I came running down to you because I'd seen your stuff online, and I was like, this guy is the funniest guy I've ever seen do sports, ever, bar none. And I know you were like, why is this dude sweating me? And
no, I wasn't. I was just shocked.
I'm just crazy, but I still am chasing the one story that you've done that I've never gotten to do. And I've asked 20 times.
Is that Kobe in the helicopter?
Ride with Kobe in the helicopter. You're the only reporter I've ever known that's ever done that. It
was pretty cool.
You're the only person I know that's ever done that.
Well, I'm sure for that one that I have, you have about 1,100. So I got a lot of catching up to do.
So I'm chasing. Just so you know, I'm chasing that.
Thank you, man. So you could be seen on Insider. You could be seen on All Access on the Time Warner Sports channel. And when's the other one? The courtside.
We're doing.
Oh, you're just shooting that
football.
one right now.
I'm doing college football, and then I run a website called hiphollywood.com.
Oh, man, you got so much. Okay, you have so much stuff. hiphollywood.com, at Kevin Frazier on Twitter. I follow you on Twitter, and I love the pics, and I love catching a little glimpse of your life. And when I get to L.A., I will definitely hit you up, and we got to go crush some burritos or eat a burger at In-N-Out or Apple Pan or something when I get out there.
You make the call. I'm in.
For sure. Thank you so much, Kev.
Thank you for listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.